Hi everyone, I just finished week 9. This is going to be a bit of a looser video, I think, because I sat down to film this earlier today, and for whatever reason, I just felt it just felt very forced. Something just wasn't quite sitting right with me doing it in the way that I have been, where I just kind of go through my notes and I talk about my experience. I just felt very stiff and agitated. I'm not entirely sure where this feeling is coming from, but I figured if that's the case, then maybe I just got to loosen up a little bit. So I'm going to go a little bit more off the cuff with this video, and just kind of not really follow my notes as closely and just see what comes up. A lot of the weeks previous, I feel I've come away with a very clear understanding of takeaways and insights, and I didn't really feel that this week. I'm having a bit of a hard time making sense why that might be. A lot of this week's chapter was about things that do resonate with me. A lot of it was about fear, preventing us from being creative, and decisions we've made in the past that continue to haunt us, about turning down opportunities and things like that. These are definitely things that apply to me, that I've thought about. I will be honest, I think maybe a part of me feels this week was a little bit redundant. At the same time, though, part of me is wondering if the reason I feel that way is because I'm facing some form of resistance. Let me go grab the book real quick. I say that because at the start of week 9, on the first page, Julius says, "It may be tempting to abandon ship at this point. Don't. We will explore and acknowledge the emotional difficulties that beset us in the past as we made creative efforts." So I don't know. Just the fact that there was mention of giving up on this, or that we might feel tempted to give up on this, I'm wondering if there's maybe something that I'm getting at, or I'm just kind of scratching the surface of, that I haven't quite sorted out, and that's what's kind of pushed me from really diving into this week in the way that I could have. This wasn't my best week. I did my morning pages 4 times, so decently. I didn't do my artist dates. I was on vacation, so I was or at least I tried to be pretty relaxed. And actually, one thing I noticed while I was away was I spent a lot of the first half of the trip working. And the last couple of days, I realized, you know what, I'm feeling really tired of just constantly feeling the need to put my time into something, some kind of work. And I decided to just spend the last 2 days more or less doing nothing. And it was nice. But now that I'm back, I don't know, I've just felt a weird agitation right now, and I don't really know why. Again, as I mentioned, if I had to guess, I feel like maybe I might be scratching on the surface of something. And I think one realization that I had this week was I've put a lot of my blame on my creative blocks and my lack of progress on some of the bullying that I faced in high school, or just the people that I surrounded myself with as well. I did not have the best support system, and I think at a time where I was very vulnerable and I was figuring out who I was, it really fed into a lot of my insecurities. And I have a tendency to glorify my childhood as this amazing period where I was super imaginative and creative and listen to my impulses. And that definitely is true. And I think, again, that's why I romanticize that era of my life, feel a lot of nostalgia for my early years. There's mention in the book of creative U-turns, and which is the idea of turning away opportunities or not finishing things because of fear. And I was thinking about that. I thought a lot about who I was as a kid. And even though, yes, I was very creative, I was very imaginative, I didn't commit to things. From a very young age, I just never really stuck to anything. And I've been trying to figure out why I was like that. And in some ways, I was just following my impulses, just doing things that I wanted to in the moment. But I did have a tendency that once things got difficult, that I would give up. And that was a behavioral pattern I faced from a very young age, and unfortunately has persisted for many, many years and up until I'd say fairly recently. And I'm trying to figure out why that's ingrained in me, because I think that behavioral pattern has prevented me from pursuing a lot of things that I know I want to do. Again, I continually mention music, but even writing for many years, up until more or less now, I hated sitting down to write. I found it very difficult. I found it very frustrating. I didn't have faith that I would figure it out. I hadn't even proven to myself that I could do it. Again, it was that continual pattern of just quitting when it got difficult. And I'm not really sure what to make of this. I think I have to really think about actually, let's do it now. Let's just try and see if anything comes up now. What might have motivated that feeling in me, that hesitation? Okay, you know what? I'll just be kind of honest here. This is a bit uncomfortable, but here we go. I think I felt a lot of inferiority as a kid for a number of reasons. And I guess that must have fueled a feeling that I had to do things, or I had to accomplish things at a certain level. And I used to spend a lot of time imagining myself in a grander kind of light. I've talked before about sort of my delusions of grandeur growing up, and these ideas of the things that I would accomplish as I got older. And I think, again, a lot of that stems from just feeling like I wasn't enough growing up, or that I didn't do things right in a lot of ways. And I think it's still it's enforced this feeling in me that a certain level of, I hate using this term, but I'll just be honest, like, I guess a certain level of perfectionism and fear that I don't know, man. Okay. I think for wanting to feel loved, I guess, and because I was just such an imaginative and creative kid growing up, that became an outlet for me to, and I in a way I was rewarded a lot for being that way, and it fulfilled, I think, that desire for attention, for love, for whatever reason I just didn't feel at that age. And as I got older, I still wanted to do these creative things, but my skills, I needed to advance in my skills, and I hadn't done that. And for the first time, the one thing I had that I really connected with, like my creative ambitions, now that those hadn't really evolved with me, now the one thing that I had was kind of gone. The one source of feeling like I had something was missing, and it ego checked me. And I think it made me scared that if I didn't do it a certain way, that people wouldn't care about me. I think there's this weird feeling inside that people don't care, that I kind of fly under the radar. And there's a feeling that I have to make myself known. And maybe that's why some of my creative work just has been kind of shitty. It's not motivated by something I'm really trying to say. Again, I've talked about this before. Like, I don't really know what I want to say a lot of the time. I think there's just this feeling that I have to do it to feel seen. I guess it's just wanting attention, man. Like, am I doing this for the wrong reasons? Do I actually enjoy doing this? Do I actually enjoy being creative? Or is this really just a ploy for attention? Because if it is it even worth continuing to do? Like, that's such a shallow reason to create work. Like, that's such a shallow reason to create art. That's entirely self-serving. I don't want to do that. I don't want to participate in that. It's funny, I thought this week was not very substantive, but now that I'm kind of addressing these things, it's making me think a little. Okay. Anyway, I guess I got to work on this. Letting go of that need for validation and attention, and figuring out a way to be good enough for myself. And I do think I am working on that. I do think I'm making progress on that. But yeah, I guess without realizing there's these hidden desires for attention and validation and frankly love, I guess, that I sort of equate being creative with. And because in the last several years I haven't gotten that, really, it's making it hard to want to keep doing it. And I guess my question now is like, should I even keep doing it? Because if I'm not enjoying it, why should I keep doing it? But I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it. I've been doing a lot of things lately that I do get a lot out of. And I've had these desires. I've had these desires in me since day one. I don't ever remember a time I didn't want to make films or make music. I think I just really need to get to the bottom of why I feel such a strong need for validation from others and fully let it go. A lot for me to think about. You know,